Hey guys, welcome back to another Scooby-Doo review on the channel. Today I'll be reviewing Mind Your Own Business, which is the fourth episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? So yeah, let's get straight into the review. So the episode opens up as we see this mysterious gold city sign with a vulture. I'm not 100% sure if it is a vulture, but it definitely looks like a vulture. There's like lightning in the background, really, really creepy. And we see this miner walk out of this old mine, super duper creepy there. And then we see the gang. They are driving through the Gold City. Shaggy has the map upside down and they get lost, so they don't actually know where they were supposed to be going in the first place, but it was supposed to be not Gold City, but yeah, Gold City is where they've ended up, and yeah, they suggest to go look inside some of the shops, see if I can find someone to talk to give advice on directions. So they go into the shop. Shaggy rings the bell, and then we see Big Ben, who is the owner of the hotel there in Gold City, and then he introduces the gang to Hank as they go inside, and they wonder why the Gold City town is so empty. It's because of the miner 49er, who haunts the area and originally came from the old gold mines that have been shut. And then Scooby gets really, really scared, and Hank tells them that you can hear the miner moaning really, really creepily, and it echoes through the mines at night, so it's like really, really spooky. Anyway, the gang decide to check out some of the other shops in Gold City, so they split up. Velma, Scooby and Shaggy go one way, and Daphne and Fred go into some other shops. Now in the shop where Scooby, Shaggy and Velma are in, it's like this saloon. They get Shaggy and Scooby like they ask for some service, and the miner slides some cups with cobwebs on it. Now they obviously don't know that the miner did this, and there's also a piano that is being like played automatically. Anyway, they go and check out another one of the hotels. They meet up. Firstly, like all the gang meet up, they go and check out one of the hotels. And inside, Scooby finds this really, really odd, like, I don't know, it's like this figure, it's like a statue though, and they go running around, and they end up supposedly being chased by it. Now, of course, they're not actually being chased by it. That's just what they think. Quite a really, really, really quite a silly scene, to be honest. And inside, their gang find a map, and inside the map, while Fred reads it, there's a coordinates on like the side of the map, I guess, like in the top right corner, I believe, and I don't exactly remember what those coordinates were. I'm trying to remember off my head. I'm pretty sure the coordinates led to a safe. That's what Velma thinks. She's pretty sure that the coordinates lead to a safe, and the safe in this hotel. So Velma then, Fred and Velma, they passed the safe earlier, so they go back to the safe Shaggy reckons he's the safe unlocker expert, so he goes at it and starts working, and then they just pull the door and it was already unlocked, and it turns out to be a elevator, and Scooby's a little bit scared to go in this elevator, but I eventually convince him with some Scooby snacks, and they go down in the elevator. It leads to the old mines, so it's another way of getting to them, other than the boarded up way, which you can't really go. And they then walk through the mine, and they think it's really, really suspicious that one half of the mine is lit up by lanterns, and the other half isn't. So they decide to look for clues in the half that does have lanterns, and they split up. Shaggy and Scooby, of course, go one way, and Velma, Daphne, and Fred go the other way. Now, when Shaggy and Scooby go their way, after a few hijinks with Scooby and Shaggy whistling, they come to some doors, and inside Scooby, he finds the miner. Now, when he runs over to Shaggy and Shaggy opens his door, he doesn't see the miner in there, basically, and tells Scooby he's a fraidy cat, and gets pissed off because he's wasting his time. Now, then Scooby opens the door again when Shaggy wasn't looking, and the miner's in there again. So yeah, this goes on for I think 3 times until Shaggy switches with Scooby, and Scooby actually opens it in front of Shaggy, and the miner was inside, so they go running off. Then we cut to Fred, Daphne, and Velma, who are in this boarded up area, and they're walking on these old floorboards. It's really, really dangerous because they could collapse because they're so old, and Fred does collapse and he falls in this room and gets a whole bunch of flour on him. Now, when Shaggy and Scooby come running, they open up a door which leads to that little closet area where Fred was, and they get frightened by him all dressed up in the flour. Shaggy and Scooby then go the other way and go riding on this mine, a bunch of mine cars, and in one of them the miner pops up and chases them, and the miner then chases after Shaggy and Scooby in the mine cars for a little while, until Shaggy and Scooby smash into a bunch of barrels at the buffer end of the track, and they crash right in front of Velma and Fred. But when they do crash, Daphne falls down this little trap door, and they ask where Daphne was. Velma and Fred obviously don't know, but Daphne then says that she's alright. So when they go to grab her, when Scooby goes down to grab her, he grabs what he thinks is Daphne and pulls her up, but it's actually the miner. He drops him back in there, and Daphne ended up going around the other way, and she said she saw the miner down there, and the gang also tell her that the miner, Scooby accidentally grabbed the miner, and then they come to this area where this they find this weird area where there's a whole bunch of suspicious cables, and everything's been set up, and there's a microphone and a speaker, and it connects throughout the whole mine, which is how the miner makes his mysterious moaning. Sorry, I got a bit confused there. And Velma, then when Velma finally figures it out, then Shaggy grabs this can of what he thinks is chocolate syrup, but when Fred takes a closer look at it, it's actually oil. And Shaggy and Scooby think it's quite suspicious that someone would be canning oil. And then Fred comes up with his trap. One of my favourites. I'm going to spoil it now. One of my favourite traps. I want to say. When Shaggy pretends to be a train, making train noises, and Scooby is like pretending to be the train. Shaggy makes train noises. It scares like the miner away. Obviously, I mean, it could have been done better, but back then, one of my favourite traps, the miner then runs into this door, and Scooby slams into him inside the door. And when they eventually go inside, they see a pair of hands leaning over the edge. They think it's the miner, and then Scooby's like holding on by his boots, but then his boots actually slip and he falls down to like the bottom of like the cliff, and Shaggy says he's wearing stilts. So then Fred realizes that it can only be one person, and then he unmasks the miner, and it turns out to be Hank. Of course it had to be Hank because, well, he's a midget, and he was the only other person apart from Big Ben that could have really been doing it, and Big Ben is, well, big. So, yeah, it's quite obviously Hank. Anyway, he discovered the oil in the old mines. Well, first he discovered the map, and he hid it inside that little Indian statue, and then wrote coordinates so he could remember like the safe coordinate, like the safe number as well, and it was like the secret way for him to get down to the mines. And when he was down there, he found oil, and could easily become partners with Big Ben and make heaps and heaps of money, but he wanted it all to himself. Yeah, but eventually, I mean, it was a pretty good plan, but he could have gotten away with it, of course, and they took him to jail.
Look! Stilts!
Shaggy's right. He is wearing stilts.
Then this can only be one person. Hank!
Hank!
Oh, dag-nabbit!
So it was old Hank who was scaring off my guests.
To force you out of business.
That way, he could buy the guest ranch, the ghost town.
And like the mine for almost nothing.
Then there must still be gold in that old mine.
Not gold, black gold.
You mean oil?
Like right.
But how did Hank know about the oil?
He accidentally found the secret mine entrance in the old hotel safe. And instead of gold, he found oil.
He had the exact location laid out on a map.
Then he hid the map in the cigar store Indian for safekeeping.
Too bad. We could have been partners.
Scooby, then we cut to Scooby, who's like picking apples with Hank's stilts, but it doesn't work, and he slips off his stilts into like this water barrel, but he still managed to pick some apples, so a bit of a win-win situation there for Scooby. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. I want to say I enjoyed this episode. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said before, I really, really like the trap. Definitely one of my favourites ever in Scooby-Doo. I don't know, for some reason it just really, really stood out to me. Of course, it was an oil plot, and as you may know by now, I don't really like oil plots. Some of my least favourite, but out of the ones that are good, this is definitely up there. Definitely not my favourite oil plot, but definitely up there. I thought the miner was pretty cool, pretty basic and generic looking villain, but I still thought he was pretty cool. He didn't do a lot in the first half. I feel like the first half was a bit of a drag of the episode. I feel like the second half was definitely better. The first half was more comedy. The second half was definitely more spooky. So if you do like more spooky in your Scooby-Doo episodes, like I do, for example, you definitely prefer the second half of this episode. A pretty good episode. Definitely not my favourite. One of my least favourites, unfortunately, for this episode, just because every other episode in this series is so good. But yeah, like I said before, I really like the trap in this episode. I hope you enjoyed the review, and stay tuned for tomorrow where I'll be reviewing episode 5, Decoy for a Dog Napper.
We finally got away from that goony miner.